My name is Marcus Thorne, and for 15 years I was a paramedic with Metro City EMS. They called us the Grave Shift, the crew that worked from dusk till dawn, racing through empty streets while most of the city slept. We saw things that would haunt your dreams, but nothing prepared me for what I encountered during my final year on the job. Nothing could have prepared me for the patient who wasn't there. It started on a rain-slicked Tuesday in early November. The kind of night where the city seems to hold its breath, waiting for something to happen. I was paired with Jamie Chen, a rookie with steady hands but nervous eyes. We'd been partners for 3 months, long enough for me to trust her skills, short enough for me to still catch glimpses of her idealism shining through. The call came in at 2:17 a.m. Unknown medical emergency, dispatch crackled through the radio. 11197 Riverside Drive, apartment 4B. Caller reports difficulty breathing, possible cardiac event. Jamie navigated the ambulance through the deserted streets, windshield wipers beating a frantic rhythm against the glass. Riverside Drive was in one of the city's oldest neighborhoods, a mix of renovated brownstones and buildings that time had forgotten. Apartment 4B was on the top floor of a crumbling brick building that smelled of mildew and regret. The elevator was out of order, no surprise there, so we climbed 4 flights of stairs, our boots echoing in the stairwell. The apartment door was slightly ajar. I pushed it open slowly, flashlight cutting through the darkness. "Hello? Metro City EMS," I called out. No response. The apartment was sparsely furnished, covered in a layer of dust so thick it looked like gray snow. In the center of the living room floor lay an elderly man, eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling. He wasn't breathing. I knelt beside him, checking for a pulse. Nothing. His skin was cold, waxy. Rigor mortis had already set in. "Time of death, 2:26 a.m., I said to Jamie, who was documenting everything. "He's been gone for hours, probably died sometime yesterday evening." Jamie nodded, her face pale in the flashlight's beam. "Should I call it in?" "Yeah, tell dispatch we need police and the medical examiner. This isn't our kind of call." As Jamie stepped into the hallway to use her radio, I noticed something odd. The dead man's chest was moving. Not breathing, just a subtle rise and fall as if something inside was shifting. I leaned closer, shining my light directly on his torso. Through his thin shirt, I could see it, a dark shape beneath his skin, pulsing slowly like a second heart. "Marcus, you need to see this," Jamie called from the bedroom. I reluctantly pulled my attention away from the corpse and joined her. The bedroom was even more sparsely furnished than the living room, just a mattress on the floor and a single wooden chair. On the seat of the chair sat a small wooden box, intricately carved with symbols I didn't recognize. The lid was open, revealing something that made my blood run cold. Inside the box was a photograph of me. It wasn't an old photo. It was recent. I could tell by the haircut I'd gotten just last month. I was standing in front of our ambulance, smiling at something off camera. I had no memory of this picture being taken. "What the hell?" I whispered, reaching for the photograph. "Don't!" Jamie grabbed my wrist. "Look at the back." I flipped the photo over. Written on the back in neat, precise letters were 3 words. "You're next, Marcus." My heart hammered against my ribs. This had to be some kind of prank, a twisted joke. But who would go to such lengths, and how did they get this photograph? "We need to go," I said, pocketing the photo. "Now." We called in the death, made our report to the police when they arrived, and headed back to the station. I didn't mention the photograph or the message. Some things are better kept to yourself until you figure out what they mean. The rest of the shift passed uneventfully, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. Every time I turned around, I expected to see someone standing there, staring at me. When my shift ended at dawn, I drove home in a daze, the photograph burning a hole in my pocket. I lived alone in a small apartment across town. As I unlocked my door, I noticed something taped to the inside of the mail slot. Another photograph. This one showed me sleeping in my bed, taken from the foot of my bed. On the back, in the same handwriting, "I see you when you're sleeping." Panic surged through me. Someone had been in my apartment. While I was sleeping, they could still be here. I searched every room, every closet, under every piece of furniture. Nothing. No one. But the feeling of being watched intensified, as if invisible eyes were tracking my every move. I called in sick for the next 2 nights, unable to bring myself to go back to work. I barely slept, jumping at every sound, every shadow. On the third night, the phone rang at 3 a.m. Thorn, a voice whispered. It sounded like mine, but deeper, hollow. You can't hide from us. We know where you are. We know what you fear. Who is this? I demanded, my voice trembling. We've been waiting for you, Marcus. Waiting for you to notice us. Now that you have, we can begin. Begin what? The transition. The line went dead. I sat in the darkness, the phone still pressed to my ear, my heart racing. Transition? What transition? And who was we? The next night, I forced myself to go back to work. I couldn't hide forever. Jamie took one look at me and knew something was wrong. You okay? She asked as we checked our equipment. I'm fine, I lied. Just didn't sleep well. If this is about that call the other night. It's not, I interrupted. Let's just focus on the job, okay? She nodded, but I could tell she didn't believe me. The night was relatively quiet, a few minor accidents, a domestic dispute that required stitches, nothing out of the ordinary, until 3:33 a.m. The call came in from dispatch. Multiple victims, motor vehicle accident, Highway 17, and Oak Street. 2 vehicles, unknown number of patients. We raced to the scene, sirens wailing through the empty streets. When we arrived, we found a mangled mess of twisted metal and broken glass. 2 cars had collided head-on at high speed. One driver was dead, killed instantly. The other was trapped in her vehicle, barely conscious. Jamie and I worked quickly to extract her, stabilize her neck, and load her into the ambulance. As we sped toward the hospital, the woman's vital signs began to fluctuate wildly. Her blood pressure dropped, then spiked. Her heart rate became erratic. Come on, stay with us, I urged, adjusting the IV drip. Her eyes fluttered open, and she looked directly at me. Not through me, but at me, as if she recognized me. You're one of them now, she whispered, her voice surprisingly strong. What? Who are you talking about? The Watchers. The ones who see. The ones who wait. I exchanged a confused look with Jamie, who was monitoring the woman's vitals. You're transitioning, the woman continued, her gaze locked on mine. I can see it, in your eyes. The darkness is spreading. Her heart monitor suddenly flatlined. Damn it! Jamie shouted, beginning CPR. We're losing her. I grabbed the defibrillator, but before I could use it, the woman grabbed my wrist with surprising strength. Her skin was cold, unnaturally so. It's too late for me, she said. But not for you. Not yet. They have plans for you, Marcus. Big plans. They've been watching you for a long time, waiting for the right moment. Who? Who's been watching me? The ones between. The ones who exist in the cracks. The ones who feed on fear and regret. Her grip loosened and her eyes rolled back in her head. Despite our efforts, she was gone. Jamie and I sat in silence for the rest of the ride to the hospital, both of us shaken by the woman's final words. You know her? Jamie asked quietly. I shook my head. Never saw her before in my life. Back at the station, I reported the incident to our supervisor, leaving out the woman's strange final words. I knew how it would sound. Crazy, paranoid, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. The following night, I was paired with a different partner, Frank Rodriguez, a veteran paramedic with 20 years on the job. Frank had seen it all, or so he thought. Rough night the other day, he said as we checked our equipment. Heard you lost a patient on the way to the hospital. Yeah, I replied, avoiding eye contact. Sometimes you can't save them no matter how hard you try. Frank nodded sympathetically. That's the truth of this job. We're just trying to hold back the tide, you know? I wasn't sure what he meant, but I nodded anyway. The night was uneventful until around 2 a.m. when we got a call to a residential address in an upscale neighborhood. Possible heart attack, dispatch informed us. Elderly male, 78 years old. Name is Arthur Penwright. The Penwright residence was a sprawling mansion in the city's most exclusive neighborhood. As we approached the front door, it swung open before we could knock. A man who looked to be in his late 70s stood there, smiling warmly. He was dressed in an expensive suit, as if he were about to attend a formal event rather than suffering from a heart attack. Mr. Penwright? I asked. We received a call about a possible cardiac emergency? He chuckled. Oh, that. No, I'm perfectly fine. But please, do come in. I've been expecting you. Expecting us? That was unusual. Most people who call 911 are in distress, not expecting us with calm anticipation. We followed him into a lavishly furnished living room. Everything was immaculate, expensive, and somehow cold. The room felt like a museum display rather than a lived-in space. "Please have a seat," Penwright said, gesturing to two antique chairs. Frank and I exchanged a confused look. This wasn't standard procedure. "Sir, we received a call about a medical emergency," Frank said. "If you're not experiencing any symptoms—" "Oh, the call was quite real," Penwright interrupted. "Just not for me. It was for you, Marcus." My blood ran cold. How did he know my name? "I don't understand," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "Of course you don't," Penwright replied, his smile never reaching his eyes. "But you will, soon. Very soon." He stood and walked to a large painting on the far wall. With a slight push, the painting swung open like a door, revealing a wall safe. "I have something for you," he said, turning the combination lock. "Something that belongs to you, or rather, something that will belong to you soon enough." He opened the safe and removed a small, leather-bound book. It looked ancient, the cover cracked and worn. "This is the Chronicle of the Watchers," he said, handing the book to me. "It will explain everything. Who they are, what they want, what you're becoming." I took the book reluctantly. It felt heavy in my hands, not just physically, but spiritually, as if it carried the weight of centuries. "I don't understand," I repeated. "What am I becoming?" Penwright's smile widened. "One of us, a watcher, a guardian of the threshold, someone who exists between worlds, between life and death." "That's impossible," Frank said, standing up. "We're leaving, now." Penwright laughed, a sound like dry leaves skittering across pavement. "Oh, I don't think so, Frank. You see, now that you're here, you're part of this too. You can't leave. Not anymore." The lights in the room flickered and died, plunging us into darkness. When they came back on a moment later, Penwright was gone. "What the hell was that?" Frank demanded, looking around wildly. "I don't know," I replied, clutching the book to my chest. "But I think we need to get out of here. Now." We practically ran back to the ambulance, not stopping to look back. As we pulled away from the mansion, I could swear I saw Penwright standing in an upstairs window, watching us leave. Back at the station, I reported the incident, leaving out the bizarre details about the book and Penwright's strange pronouncements. I knew how it would sound. Frank didn't say much for the rest of the shift. He just kept looking at me, as if seeing me for the first time. When my shift ended, I took the book home with me, intending to examine it in private. As I walked up the stairs to my apartment building, I noticed a figure standing in the shadows near the mailboxes. It was Jamie. "What are you doing here?" I asked, surprised. "We need to talk," she said, her voice low and urgent, "about what's happening to you." "What do you mean?" She glanced around nervously. "Not here? Somewhere private? Your apartment?" I nodded, unlocking the door to my building. We climbed the stairs in silence, the weight of unspoken questions hanging between us. Once inside my apartment, Jamie immediately began checking every room, every closet, every hiding place. "What are you doing?" I asked. "Making sure we're alone, making sure they're not watching." "Who? The Watchers?" She froze, turning to face me slowly. "How do you know that name?" I showed her the book Penwright had given me. He said it would explain everything. Who they are, what I'm becoming. Jamie's face paled. "You've already met one of them. Penwright. He's a high-ranking watcher, one of the elders." "What are the Watchers?" I demanded. "And what do they want with me?" She sat down on my couch, patting the seat beside her. "It's complicated, and it's going to sound crazy, but you need to hear it. All of it." I sat down, waiting. "The Watchers are an ancient order," she began. "They exist between worlds, between life and death. They can see things that normal people can't. They can move between dimensions, between realities." "That's impossible," I said, though I was beginning to believe anything was possible after what I'd experienced. "They've been around for thousands of years," Jamie continued. "Sometimes they recruit new members, people with special abilities, people who can see beyond the veil." "And they think I'm one of these people?" She nodded. "They've been watching you for a long time, Marcus. Since you were a child, they saw something in you, a sensitivity to the other side, an ability to perceive what others can't." I thought back to my childhood, to the strange things I used to see and hear that my parents told me were just my imagination. The shadowy figures in the corner of my room, the whispers when no one was there. "Why me?" I asked. "Why now?" "Because you're ready," Jamie replied. "Your abilities have been growing stronger. You've been having the dreams that haven't you? The ones where you're floating above your body, watching yourself sleep? I stared at her, shocked. How could she know about the dreams I'd been having for the past few months? Dreams where I felt like I was outside my body, looking down at myself. How do you know about that? Because I'm a watcher too, she said quietly. I've been assigned to watch you, to guide you through the transition when the time came. I jumped up from the couch, backing away from her. You're one of them? You've been spying on me? Not spying, she insisted. Observing, preparing. The transition is difficult, dangerous. Without guidance, most recruits don't survive. What transition? What are you talking about? The change from human to watcher, she explained. It's a process, a metamorphosis, and it's already begun. I looked down at my hands. They looked normal, but when I concentrated, I could see a faint aura surrounding them, a shimmering energy that hadn't been there before. What happens during this transition? I asked, my voice trembling. You'll develop new abilities, Jamie replied. You'll be able to see things others can't, move between dimensions, communicate with the dead, but there's a price. What price? Part of you will die, the human part, the part that feels, that loves, that fears. You'll become something else, something other. I shook my head. No, I don't want this. I never asked for this. It doesn't matter what you want, Jamie said sadly. The process has already begun. It can't be stopped, only controlled or guided. Who controls it? Who guides it? The elders, like Penwright. They're the ones who decide when a recruit is ready, when the transition should begin. And when is that? Soon, Jamie replied. Very soon. They'll send a signal, a sign, and then the transformation will begin in earnest. What kind of sign? She shrugged. It's different for everyone, but you'll know it when you see it. You won't be able to miss it. I sat back down on the couch, my mind reeling. This was too much, impossible, insane, but deep down, I knew it was true. I'd felt the changes happening within me for months. The strange sensations, the vivid dreams, the feeling of being watched. What happens if I fight it? I asked. If I refuse to go through with this transition? Jamie's expression grew grim. Then you'll die. The human body can't contain the energies that are building within you. Without the transformation to release them, you'll burn up from the inside out. It won't be quick or pleasant. I stood up again, pacing the room. There has to be another way, something I can do to stop this. There isn't, Jamie said firmly. The only choice you have is how you face it, with guidance or alone. And if I choose guidance, what happens then? You'll be initiated into the Order. You'll learn to control your new abilities. You'll serve the Watchers in their mission. What mission? To maintain the balance between worlds, she replied. To keep the forces of darkness from overwhelming the light. To guide souls to their proper destination after death. It sounded noble, important, but it also sounded terrifying. I need time to think, I said, to process all of this. Jamie nodded sympathetically. I understand. But you don't have much time. The transition is already accelerating. You'll start experiencing more symptoms, more changes. What kind of changes? Not physical changes, emotional changes. Your senses will become more acute. You'll start seeing things that aren't there. Or rather, things that are there, but most people can't perceive. I thought about the dark shape I'd seen moving beneath the dead man's skin, the woman in the car accident who had known my name, Penwright and his strange predictions. It was all starting to make sense. Horrible, terrifying sense. I need to be alone, I said, heading for the door. I need to think. Jamie stood up. I'll be here when you're ready, when you've made your decision. I nodded, opening the door for her. As she stepped into the hallway, she turned back to me. Whatever you decide, Marcus, know that I'm here to help. I didn't choose this life either. It chose me. But it's not all bad. There's power in what we become. Purpose, meaning. I didn't respond, just watched as she walked down the hall and disappeared around the corner. Once she was gone, I locked the door and leaned against it, my heart racing. What was I going to do? How could I possibly make a choice like this? I walked over to my bookshelf and picked up the Chronicle of the Watchers. It was time to find out exactly what I was dealing with. The book was written in a language I didn't recognize, but as I opened it, the words seemed to shift and rearrange themselves into English. It was as if the book was adapting to me, revealing its secrets only to those who were meant to read it. The first page contained a warning. To those who read these words, know that your life will never be the same. The knowledge contained herein is both a blessing and a curse. Once learned, it cannot be unlearned. Once seen, it cannot be unseen. Turn back now while you still can, or embrace your destiny and join the Watchers who stand between worlds. I almost closed the book then and there. Almost. But something compelled me to keep reading, to learn the truth about what was happening to me. The next few pages described the history of the Watchers, an ancient order that had existed since the dawn of time. They were neither human nor spirit, but something in between. Beings who could perceive and interact with both the physical world and the spiritual realm. According to the Chronicle, the Watchers served as guardians of the veil between worlds, preventing the forces of darkness from crossing over and wreaking havoc on the living. They guided souls to their proper afterlife and battled entities that sought to consume or corrupt human spirits. The process of becoming a Watcher was described in detail. It began with subtle changes, heightened senses, strange dreams, the ability to perceive things others couldn't. As the transformation progressed, these abilities would grow stronger, eventually culminating in a complete metamorphosis. The final pages of the book contained a list of recent recruits, those who were undergoing the transition or had recently completed it. As I scanned the names, one caught my eye. Marcus Thorne. Status transition initiated. Potential high. Risk extreme. Below my name was a note. Subject shows exceptional sensitivity to spiritual energies. Abilities manifesting earlier than anticipated. Monitor closely for signs of premature transformation. If transition completes before initiation, subject may become unstable. Dangerous. Containment may be necessary. I kept reading, searching for answers. The book described cases where recruits had undergone the transformation without proper guidance from the elders. These uncontrolled transitions often resulted in the recruit becoming something monstrous, neither human nor Watcher, but a twisted hybrid that threatened both worlds. According to the Chronicle, these rogues had to be contained or destroyed before they could cause irreparable damage to the veil between worlds. I slammed the book shut, my hands trembling. This was worse than I had imagined. Not only was I being forced to undergo this transformation against my will, but if it happened too quickly or without proper guidance, I could become a danger to everyone around me. I had to find a way out of this, a way to stop the transformation before it was too late. Over the next few days, I researched everything I could find about the Watchers, looking for any weakness, any way to fight back. But the information was scarce, almost non-existent. My symptoms continued to worsen. My senses became more acute. I could hear conversations from 3 floors away, see details from blocks away. I started seeing auras around people, shimmering fields of energy that revealed their emotions, their health, their intentions. Worst of all, I began to see the dead. At first, it was just glimpses out of the corner of my eye, shadowy figures that disappeared when I turned to look directly at them. But soon they became more substantial, more real. I could see them clearly, hear them speaking to me, begging for help, for release, for revenge. I tried to ignore them, to pretend they weren't there, but they grew more insistent, more demanding. They knew I could see them, and they wouldn't leave me alone. One night, as I was trying to sleep, a figure appeared at the foot of my bed. It was the woman from the car accident, the one who had died in my ambulance. "You're running out of time, Marcus," she said, her voice echoing strangely in the room. "The transition is almost complete. Soon you'll be one of us, or one of them. The choice is yours." "I don't want to be either," I replied, sitting up in bed. "I just want my life back." She shook her head sadly. "That's not possible anymore. The old you is dying day by day, hour by hour. Soon there'll be nothing left but the new you, the Watcher you." "There has to be a way to stop this," I insisted, "a way to reverse it." "There isn't," she said, "but there is a way to control it, to choose what kind of Watcher you become. Light or dark, guardian or destroyer." "What do you mean?" "The Watchers aren't all the same," she explained. "Some serve the light, some serve the darkness. The choice you make now will determine which side you're on." "How do I choose?" "By accepting or rejecting the initiation," she replied. "If you accept the guidance of the elders, you'll become a Watcher of the light. If you reject them, if you try to complete the transformation on your own, you'll likely fall to darkness. And if I refuse to transform at all, you'll die," she said simply, "painfully. and your soul will be trapped between worlds, unable to move on, unable to return to life, a fate worse than death. I stared at her, horrified. This was no choice at all. It was a trap, a no-win situation designed to force me into joining their order. I need to think, I said finally. I need time to decide. She nodded sympathetically. You don't have much time. The final stage of the transformation will begin soon. When it does, you'll have to make your choice, or it will be made for you. With that, she faded away, leaving me alone with my thoughts. The next day at work, I was paired with Jamie again. She took one look at me and knew something was wrong. The transition is accelerating, isn't it? She asked quietly. I nodded. I'm seeing things, hearing things. The dead, they're everywhere. She placed a hand on my arm. That's normal. Part of the process. Your abilities are manifesting. It's more than that, I said, lowering my voice. I talked to one of them, the woman from the car accident. She told me about the choice I have to make, light or dark. Jamie's expression grew serious. She was right. The choice is yours, but you have to make it soon, before the final stage begins. What happens during the final stage? The metamorphosis, she replied. Your human body will die and your watcher form will emerge. It's painful, excruciating, but necessary. And if I'm not properly initiated when it happens, you'll likely become a rogue, she said grimly, a danger to everyone around you, including yourself. I thought about the warning in the Chronicle. Containment may be necessary. Was that what happened to rogues? Were they contained? Destroyed? I need to know more about the initiation, I said. What it involves. What I'll be expected to do once I join the order. Jamie glanced around nervously, making sure no one was listening. Meet me after shift, at my place. I'll show you everything. Harvesting souls, Jamie replied. The Watchers guide souls to their proper afterlife. Sometimes, when a soul is corrupted or lost, it must be harvested before it can cause harm. The scene shifted again, showing the Watchers standing before a shimmering veil that separated the world of the living from the world of the dead. He stepped through the veil and disappeared into the darkness beyond. The Watchers move between worlds, Jamie explained. They maintain the balance, ensuring that neither side overwhelms the other. The crystal's glow dimmed and the images faded away. I stepped back, shaken by what I had seen. That's what I'll become, I asked, my voice trembling. A soul harvester? A creature that moves between worlds? Jamie nodded. That's one aspect of what you'll be. There's more, much more, but that's the essence of it. And if I refuse the initiation, if I try to complete the transformation on my own, then you'll likely become a rogue, she replied. A being of immense power but no control, a danger to everyone and everything around you. Is there no third option? I pleaded. No way to stop this transformation entirely? Jamie shook her head sadly. I'm afraid not. The process has gone too far. It can't be stopped, only guided or left to run its course. I sank into a nearby chair, my mind reeling. This was impossible, unthinkable, but it was happening. To me. I need time to think, I said finally. To decide. Jamie nodded sympathetically. You don't have much time. The final stage will begin soon. When it does, you'll have to make your choice, or it will be made for you. Over the next few days, I noticed more changes in myself. My reflection in the mirror began to waver, as if there were two of me trying to occupy the same space. Sometimes when I looked at my hands, they seemed transparent, insubstantial. I started having gaps in my memory, hours or even entire days that I couldn't account for. During these blackouts, people would look at me strangely, as if they'd seen something they couldn't explain. One night, I woke up to find myself standing in a cemetery, miles from my apartment. I had no memory of how I got there or what I had been doing. As I looked around, I realized that all the graves in my immediate vicinity had been disturbed, as if something had dug its way out from beneath the soil. Panicked, I ran back to my apartment, locking the door and pushing furniture against it. I was losing control, losing myself. The transformation was accelerating, and I was powerless to stop it. The next day at work, I was a wreck. I could barely focus on my duties, my mind consumed by fear and confusion. Jamie watched me with concern, but didn't say anything until our shift ended. It's time, Marcus, she said quietly as we were leaving the station. The final stage has begun. You have to make your choice. Now. I can't, I replied, my voice trembling. I don't know what to do. If you don't choose, the choice will be made for you, she insisted, and you won't like the outcome. What happens if I choose to join the Watchers? What will they expect me to do? You'll be initiated into the Order, she explained. You'll learn to control your new abilities. You'll serve the Elders, maintaining the balance between worlds. You'll guide souls to their proper afterlife. You'll battle the forces of darkness that threaten to cross over. And if I refuse, then you'll likely become a rogue, she replied grimly. A danger to everyone around you, including yourself. The Elders will have no choice but to contain you or destroy you. I thought about the warning in the Chronicle. Containment may be necessary. Now I knew what that meant. They would imprison me, kill me, to protect their secret, to maintain their control. There has to be another way, I pleaded. A third option. Jamie shook her head sadly. There isn't. Not anymore. The transformation has gone too far. It can't be stopped, only guided or left to run its course. I looked at her, really looked at her for the first time. I could see her aura now, a shimmering field of energy that revealed her true nature. She was a watcher, through and through. But there was something else there too. Doubt. Fear. Regret. You don't like being a watcher, do you? I asked quietly. She hesitated, then nodded. It's a burden, a responsibility I never asked for. But it's my life now, my purpose. Is there no way out for either of us? She shook her head. Once you're in for life. Or rather, for eternity. There's no retirement, no escape. I thought about this for a moment, an eternity of servitude, of harvesting souls, of maintaining a balance I never asked to be a part of. It was no choice at all. What if there was another way? I said slowly. A way to harness the power of the transformation without becoming a watcher or a rogue. Jamie looked at me, confused. What do you mean? What if I could complete the transformation on my own terms? Not as a servant of the Elders, but as something new, something different. That's impossible, she insisted. The transformation either completes with guidance, becoming a watcher, or without guidance, becoming a rogue. There's no middle ground. Maybe there is, I replied. Maybe the Elders have been lying to us, to all the recruits. Maybe there's a third path they don't want us to know about. Jamie shook her head. You're deluding yourself. There's no third path, no escape. Then why are you afraid? I asked softly. Why do I see fear in your aura? Doubt? Regret? She looked away, unable to meet my eyes. I'm not afraid. Yes, you are, I insisted. You're afraid of what the Elders will do if they find out you're helping me, afraid of what they'll do to me if I refuse to join them, afraid of what's happening to me, to us. Jamie was silent for a long moment, then finally nodded. Okay, yes, I'm afraid. For you, for me, for everyone. Help me, I pleaded. Help me find another way. A third path. She hesitated, then nodded slowly. There might be something, a legend. A story the Elders tell to scare young watchers, about a recruit who tried to forge his own path, who completed the transformation on his own terms, becoming neither watcher nor rogue, but something else entirely. What happened to him? No one knows, Jamie replied. Some say he succeeded, creating a new kind of being free from the control of the Elders. Others say he failed, becoming a monster so terrifying that even the Elders feared him. Where can I find this information? This legend? Jamie thought for a moment. There's a place, a hidden library beneath the city, where the Elders keep their most dangerous secrets. If there's a third path, that's where we'd find it. Will you help me? I asked. Help me get there? Help me find the truth? Jamie looked at me, her expression conflicted. If the Elders catch us, they'll kill us both. Or worse. I know, I replied, but it's a risk I have to take. For my freedom. For my soul. She nodded slowly. Okay, I'll help you, but we have to hurry. The final stage of your transformation has already begun. We don't have much time. That night, Jamie led me to a hidden entrance to the underground library located in the basement of an abandoned warehouse on the edge of the city. The entrance was concealed behind a false wall, accessible only to those who knew the right sequence of movements to reveal it. Once inside, we found ourselves in a vast underground chamber, filled with shelves upon shelves of ancient books, scrolls, and artifacts. The air was thick with dust and the weight of centuries. The Elders' most dangerous secrets are kept here, Jamie explained, leading me deeper into the library. Knowledge that could destroy them if it ever fell into the wrong hands. We searched for hours, looking for any information about a third path, a way to complete the transformation without becoming either a watcher or a rogue. Finally, tucked away in a dusty corner, we found a small, unassuming book with no title. As I opened it, the pages began to glow, revealing text that shifted and changed before my eyes. The third path, I read aloud. A way to harness the power of the transformation without falling under the control of the elders or becoming a rogue. According to the book, the third path required the recruit to complete the transformation alone, without guidance from the elders, but with the knowledge of how to control the new abilities that would emerge. It was a delicate balance, requiring immense willpower and strength of character. If successful, the recruit would become something new, a being with the powers of a watcher but free from their control, a guardian of the veil but not a servant of the elders. If unsuccessful, the result would be catastrophic. The recruit would become a rogue, a monster of immense power and no control, a danger to everyone and everything around them. It's a risk, Jamie said, reading over my shoulder. A huge risk. It's the only chance I have, I replied. The only way to maintain my freedom, my autonomy. Jamie nodded slowly. Then we have to try. But we need to prepare. The final stage of the transformation will begin soon. When it does, you'll have to be ready. Over the next few days, we studied the book, learning everything we could about the third path and how to navigate it safely. We gathered the materials we would need: rare herbs, precious stones, ancient symbols of power. All the while, my symptoms continued to worsen. My body became more insubstantial, my reflection more unstable. I started seeing things that weren't there, visions of other worlds, other dimensions. The dead became more insistent, more demanding of my attention. I knew the final stage was approaching. I could feel it in my bones, in my blood. The transformation was almost complete. One night, as I was preparing for the ritual that would either save me or destroy me, Jamie arrived at my apartment, her face pale with fear. "The elders know," she said, her voice trembling. "They know what we're planning. They're coming for you." I looked at the window and saw them, shadowy figures approaching my building, their forms shifting and changing in the moonlight. "We have to hurry," I said, grabbing the materials we had gathered. "There's no time to waste." We quickly set up the ritual in the center of my living room, drawing the ancient symbols on the floor, arranging the herbs and stones in the precise pattern required by the book. As we worked, the door to my apartment burst open, and the elders streamed in, their forms shifting between human and something other, something monstrous. "Stop this madness," one of them commanded, his voice echoing strangely in the room. "You're playing with forces you don't understand." "I understand perfectly," I replied, continuing with the ritual. "I understand that you want to control me, to make me your servant, but I won't let you. I choose freedom." "You choose death," another elder snarled. "Or worse, you choose to become a rogue, a danger to everyone around you." "I choose the third path," I insisted. "A path of my own making." The elders laughed, a sound like dry leaves skittering across pavement. "There is no third path, only servitude or destruction. Choose now, or we will choose for you." I ignored them, focusing on the ritual, chanting the words of power from the book. The symbols on the floor began to glow, and the air crackled with energy. "Stop him!" the lead elder commanded. The other elders rushed forward, but Jamie stepped in front of me, her hands raised, creating a barrier of energy that held them at bay. "I won't let you hurt him," she said, her voice strong and steady. "He has the right to choose his own path." "Foolish girl," the lead elder sneered. "You'll die with him." "So be it," Jamie replied, her resolve unwavering. As the elders struggled against Jamie's barrier, I continued with the ritual, pouring all my will, all my strength into the words of power. The energy in the room intensified, building to a crescendo that shook the walls of my apartment. I could feel the transformation beginning, my body starting to change, to become something new, something other. It was painful, excruciating, but I welcomed it, embraced it, channeled it. The symbols on the floor flared brightly, and a beam of pure energy shot up from the center of the ritual, enveloping me in its glow. I screamed as my body twisted and changed, my human form giving way to something new, something powerful. When the light faded, I stood transformed, no longer human, but not a watcher either. Something new, something different, something free. The elders stared at me in shock, their expressions a mixture of fear and awe. "What have you done?" the lead elder demanded. "I've chosen my own path," I replied, my voice echoing strangely in the room. "I've become something new, a guardian of the veil, but not a servant of the elders. free to choose my own destiny, my own purpose. The elders exchanged glances, their fear palpable. They had never encountered anything like me before. They didn't know how to react, how to respond. "You're an abomination," the lead elder finally said. "A danger to the balance, to everything we've worked for." "I'm not a danger to anyone," I insisted. "I'm simply free, free to choose, free to act, free to be." "You can't be allowed to exist," he snarled. "You upset the natural order, the balance." "I am the balance," I replied calmly. "A new kind of balance, one that includes freedom, choice, autonomy." The elders rushed forward, intent on destroying me, but I raised my hand and a barrier of energy stopped them in their tracks, holding them immobile. "I don't want to fight you," I said. "I just want to be left alone, to live my life as I choose." The lead elder struggled against my barrier, his face contorted with rage. "We'll never stop hunting you, never stop trying to destroy you." "I know," I replied sadly. "But you'll fail, because I'm not alone anymore." As I spoke, Jamie stepped forward, taking her place beside me. She had undergone her own transformation during the ritual, becoming like me, neither human nor watcher, but something new, something free. "We're together now," she said, her voice echoing with power. "And we're not afraid of you." The elders stared at us in disbelief, their fear now mixed with something else, something like respect, or perhaps recognition. "You've changed the rules," the lead elder finally said. "Upset the natural order, but perhaps there's room in this world for something new, something different." He and the other elders slowly backed away, their forms shifting and changing until they disappeared into the shadows, leaving Jamie and me alone in my apartment. "We did it," Jamie said, turning to me with a smile. "We found a third path." I nodded, looking at my hands, at the new power that flowed through me. "We did. But what now? What do we do with this freedom? This power?" Jamie took my hand, her touch warm and reassuring. "We use it to help people, to maintain the balance in our own way, to protect the innocent, guide the lost, and battle the forces of darkness that threaten to cross over." "Like watchers," I said. "But not like watchers," she replied. "Free to choose our own path, our own purpose, our own destiny." I smiled, feeling a sense of peace I hadn't experienced in months. "Together." "Together," she agreed. And so we began our new lives, no longer human, not quite watchers, but something in between. Guardians of the veil, free to choose our own path, our own purpose, our own destiny. We maintained the balance between worlds, but on our own terms, guided by our own conscience rather than the commands of the elders. We helped those who needed help, guided those who were lost, and battled the forces of darkness that threatened to cross over into the world of the living. The elders never stopped watching us, never stopped testing us, but they never again tried to control us. They had learned, as we had, that there was a third path, a new way of being, and that freedom was a force more powerful than they had ever imagined. And in the end, that was what saved us. Not power, not magic, but the simple, profound truth that we all have the right to choose our own path, to forge our own destiny, to be free. That was the real horror of the Watchers, not their power, not their magic, but their desire to control, to dominate, to take away the most precious thing we possess, our freedom. And that was the real lesson of my transformation, that no matter how powerful the forces arrayed against us, no matter how impossible the odds, we always have a choice, we always have a chance to forge our own path, to find our own way, to be free. And in the end, that's what matters most. Not power, not control, but freedom. The freedom to choose, the freedom to be, the freedom to live. And that's a horror worth fighting for, a horror worth dying for, a horror worth living for, forever.